drive through Lancaster County in Pennsylvania on any July morning, and you will see something that stops most modern gardeners in their tracks. Row after row of perfectly healthy vegetables, growing in rich dark soil, lush and abundant and completely free of the pest damage that plagues backyard gardens all across America. No chemical sprays, no pest control services, no expensive products in brightly colored bottles, just extraordinarily productive gardens, tended by people who have never once needed any of those things, because they learned something generations ago that the modern gardening industry has been quietly hoping you would never discover.
So effective. Ever developed?
Costs nothing, requires no chemicals, and gets better every single year you use it. That is the Amish approach to garden pest management, and in this post, you are going to learn exactly what it is, how it works, and how to apply every single element of it in your own garden starting this season. The Amish approach to pest control is not one single technique. It is a complete philosophy of garden management, a set of interlocking practices that work together to create growing conditions in which pest populations cannot establish themselves at destructive levels. When every element of this system is in place, the garden essentially protects itself, the way a healthy forest ecosystem self-regulates without any intervention from outside. Understanding the philosophy first is important, because it explains why each individual practice works and how they reinforce each other. The philosophy begins with soil. In Amish agricultural tradition, healthy soil is considered the foundation of everything. Not just plant nutrition, but plant immunity. This is a concept that modern science has now confirmed. Plants growing in biologically rich, well-structured soil with optimal mineral balance produce significantly higher levels of natural defense compounds in their tissues. These compounds, phenolics, terpenes, alkaloids, are the plant's own pest resistance chemicals, and a plant growing in poor, depleted, biologically dead soil is producing them at a fraction of the concentration that a plant in rich living soil produces. A weak plant is a pest magnet. A strong plant in living soil is genuinely resistant to the pest loads that devastate chemically dependent gardens. Every Amish farmer knows this. Most American home gardeners have never been told it. Building living soil the Amish way begins with compost. And not the occasional bag of compost, worked in once a season, but a continuous, year-round commitment to returning organic matter to the soil. The Amish composting system involves composting kitchen scraps, animal manure, crop residues, and any organic material available, applying finished compost generously to every garden bed twice a year. In spring before planting and in fall as a soil building layer, and never leaving soil bare. Bare soil is dead soil in the making. A top dressing of compost or organic mulch on every bare surface feeds the soil biology, supports earthworm populations, retains moisture, and suppresses the weed seed germination that competes with food crops. The soil biology that compost feeds, the bacteria, fungi, protozoa, nematodes, and earthworms, creates the physical and chemical environment that produces pest-resistant, disease-resistant, abundantly productive plants. The second pillar of the Amish pest prevention system is crop rotation, practiced with a discipline and consistency that most modern home gardeners have never applied. The principle is straightforward. Never grow the same family of vegetables in the same location in consecutive years. Tomatoes, peppers, and eggplants are in the nightshade family, and should never follow each other in the same bed. Brassicas, cabbage, broccoli, kale, cauliflower, should not follow other brassicas. Squash should not follow squash. The reason is that specific pest populations, Colorado potato beetles, squash vine borers, cabbage loopers, corn rootworms, overwinter in the soil directly beneath and around the plants they fed on. When the same crop returns to the same location the following spring, those overwintering pests emerge to find their host plant exactly where they left it. A perfect meal, already delivered. When you rotate crops on a 3 to 4 year cycle, these pest populations emerge to find a completely different plant family that they cannot feed on, and that may actually be repellent to them. The pest populations collapse. This is not just an observation. It is one of the best studied and most consistently effective pest management practices in the scientific literature on sustainable agriculture. The Amish have been doing it for 200 years. The third pillar is companion planting, which in Amish gardens is not a casual or optional addition. It is a fundamental, structural element of how the garden is designed. Every vegetable bed is planted with a combination of food crops and aromatic companion plants that create a complex, confusing chemical environment for pest insects. The aromatic compounds from plants like basil, dill, tansy, marigold, nasturtium, and lavender, mixed throughout the vegetable beds, create a scent landscape that is genuinely disorienting for pest insects that use chemical signals to locate their host plants. These pests evolve to find their food by following specific volatile chemical trails. A garden that layers multiple aromatic compounds from multiple plant species simultaneously disrupts those trails so thoroughly that pest insects cannot reliably navigate to their target plants. The same garden simultaneously provides the nectar, pollen, and habitat that beneficial predatory insects need. So the predator populations in the garden are large, diverse, and actively consuming pest insects at every life stage. The fourth pillar is polyculture planting. Growing many different types of plants together in the same bed, rather than the monoculture rows of single crops that modern conventional gardening has normalized. A bed growing tomatoes, basil, marigold, lettuce, onions, and parsley simultaneously is dramatically harder for any single pest species to exploit than a bed growing only tomatoes. The diversity of plant chemistry, structure, and biology creates a complex environment that no single pest is specialized enough to dominate. In a monoculture, the same crop in every row as far as the eye can see. A pest that is adapted to that crop faces no resistance, no confusion, and no competition. It simply eats. In a polyculture, a pest encounters its target plant surrounded by plants that smell wrong, look wrong, produce toxic compounds, and harbor predators. It retreats. This is exactly why Amish kitchen gardens look the way they do. Densely planted, mixed, seemingly chaotic to the modern eye, but actually precisely structured to make pest establishment as difficult as possible. The fifth pillar is timing and observation. Amish farmers check their gardens daily, not because they have to, but because they understand that early identification of any pest problem allows management at the point when a small population can be controlled by hand removal or targeted natural treatment before it becomes an infection. Station requiring intensive intervention. A hornworm population caught at 3 caterpillars is controlled in 5 minutes of hand picking. A hornworm population, discovered at 300 caterpillars, requires a significantly different response. This daily observation habit also means that the Amish farmer knows their garden intimately. They recognize the first signs of soil imbalance, moisture stress, nutrient deficiency, and disease before these conditions escalate to the point of inviting pest pressure. Healthy plants in well-managed soil simply do not attract and support pest populations the way stressed plants in depleted soil do. The sixth and final pillar is beneficial insect habitat, the deliberate growing of flowering plants throughout and around the vegetable garden to support the populations of ladybugs, parasitic wasps, lacewings, ground beetles, hoverflies, and predatory spiders that do the actual work of consuming pest insects. Traditional Amish kitchen gardens are bordered by flowering perennial herbs and wildflowers, yarrow, echinacea, bergamot, chamomile, borage, that provide season-long nectar and pollen for beneficial insects and create permanent habitat that maintains these populations year after year. The beneficial insect community in a well-established Amish-style garden is so robust that pest populations are consumed almost as fast as they establish, keeping damage perpetually below the threshold of economic or aesthetic concern. Now let's talk about the core care practices that make this system work. Because the Amish approach is only as effective as the health of the plants and soil. At its center, light and temperature management in the Amish system prioritizes placing each crop in its ideal light condition rather than simply filling available space. Full sun crops, tomatoes, peppers, squash, beans, corn, receive uncompromised 6 to 8+ hours of direct sun. Partial shade crops, lettuce, spinach, cilantro, parsley, are positioned where taller companion plants provide afternoon shade, extending their productive season in the summer heat. This light-matching philosophy means every plant in the garden is growing in conditions that maximize its health and natural resistance. In terms of temperature, the Amish planting calendar is based on soil temperature rather than calendar date. Crops go in the ground when the soil temperature, at 4 inches depth, is appropriate for that specific crop, not when the calendar says spring has arrived. This ensures transplants are never stressed by cold soil, which dramatically reduces the pest and disease vulnerability that cold-shocked plants exhibit. Watering in the Amish tradition is done at the soil level, deeply, and only when plants actually need it rather than on a schedule. The practice of deep, infrequent irrigation that trains roots to grow downward, rather than stay near the surface, is fundamental to the Amish system. Deep-rooted plants access water reserves in the subsoil and are genuinely drought-tolerant in a way that shallow-rooted plants, created by frequent surface watering, are not. Stressed, wilted plants are highly attractive to pest insects that detect stress signals through the volatile chemicals these plants release. A garden of deep-rooted, well-hydrated plants in rich soil emits none of these stress signals, and the pest insects that respond to them simply pass the healthy garden by. Water in the early morning, at the soil surface using soaker hoses or careful hand watering, and allow the soil to dry appropriately between waterings. Mulch the soil surface with 3 to 4 inches of straw, wood chips, or dried leaves to dramatically reduce evaporation and maintain the consistent soil moisture that healthy plants and healthy soil biology require. Fertilizing in the Amish system is almost entirely accomplished through the compost program described earlier. Twice-yearly compost applications provide a broad-spectrum, slow-release nutrition program that builds soil fertility progressively over years. For specific deficiencies, or to support heavy-feeding crops like corn, tomatoes, and squash through their fruiting period, Amish farmers supplement with side dressings of finished compost, diluted animal manure tea, wood ash for potassium, and occasionally, seaweed meal for trace minerals. The key distinction from synthetic fertilizing is that all of these inputs feed the soil biology first, and the soil biology in turn makes nutrients available to plants at the pace and form that plant roots are designed to absorb. Synthetic fertilizers bypass the soil biology entirely, creating nutrient dependency in the plant, while simultaneously disrupting the microbial community that makes natural soil fertility possible. Pruning in the Amish kitchen garden is practiced to maintain airflow and plant health, rather than to maximize individual plant size. Tomatoes are typically managed to 2 main stems, through consistent sucker removal, keeping the plant open to air circulation that prevents fungal disease. Lower leaves are removed from tomatoes as the season progresses, to prevent soil splash. Inoculation of blight, squash, and pumpkin leaves that show powdery mildew are removed promptly. Brassica plants that have finished their productive cycle are removed completely and composted immediately, rather than left in the bed, where they provide habitat for overwintering pests. This consistent removal of diseased, spent, or excess plant material keeps the garden clean, well ventilated, and inhospitable to the pest species that depend on plant debris for shelter, overwintering, and reproduction. The most common problems in implementing this system for American home gardeners fall into 3 categories. First, soil transition. A garden that has been chemically managed for years will take 1 to 3 seasons of consistent organic matter addition before its biology recovers enough to support the pest resistance mechanisms described in this post. Start adding compost now and be patient. The improvement is cumulative and progressive. Second, crop rotation discipline. Most beginner gardeners struggle to maintain strict rotation in a small garden space. The solution is to draw a simple garden map each season and consult it when planting, ensuring no crop family repeats in the same spot within 3 to 4 years. Third, the temptation to reach for chemical sprays when a pest problem appears despite implementing these practices. Because the system takes time to reach its full effectiveness and some pest pressure is normal, and manageable in the transition period. Maintain the system, address specific pest problems with targeted organic solutions when necessary, and trust that each season the balance shifts further in your favor. This system does not promise a perfect pest-free garden in its first year. What it promises, and what 200 years of Amish farming experience and a growing body of modern agronomic science both confirm, is a garden that gets progressively more productive, more resilient, and more self-protecting every single year you maintain these practices. By year 3, most gardeners who have implemented the complete Amish system report pest pressure so low that it has become a minor footnote in their season rather than the dominant challenge it once was. Start with your soil. Make the compost, plan your rotation, plant companions, diversify, observe daily, and grow the beneficial insect habitat that lets nature do the rest. The Amish figured this out 200 years ago. Your garden is ready to learn it right now. If you love learning about seasonal flowering plants, vegetables, gardening tips, and nature care, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Nature Nurture Hub, your home for year-round garden inspiration. Let's keep growing together.